All right, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order, and that's right on cue as Trustee O'Reilly joins us. And I will start by saying again that it's February. It's 2-22-22. So just an unusual set of numbers there, but welcome to the meeting tonight. Due to the governor's statewide disaster declaration relating to the COVID-19 pandemic and current public health guidelines for social distancing, I've determined that it's not prudent for members of the village board or staff to convene in person for tonight's meeting. Therefore, the members of the village board are attending this meeting by video conference. Those same conditions require barring access to the public for in-person attendance. In light of these limitations, the public's invited to attend and listen to the meeting through the Zoom platform or by phone as indicated in the meeting agenda. To comply with the Open Meetings Act requirements for virtual meetings, tonight's meeting is being recorded. And if I could ask Village Clerk Schmidtke to take roll call and make sure that everyone can be heard. I'll let you do that now.
Okay, Trustee Borowski, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
Thank you. Trustee Kritzmeyer will be joining later. Trustee Michaud?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Thanks.
Trustee O'Connor, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Trustee O'Reilly, can you hear me? Trustee O'Reilly?
We can't hear you, Bobby, so.
Working. Yes.
Got it. Okay. Trustee Tanucci, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Okay. I would ask everyone to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To
to the flag of the
of
United States of America
America,
and
and to the republic
for which it
which it
stands,
stands,
one
nation,
nation,
under
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty and
justice
justice for all.
Okay, welcome everyone. Again, it's February 22nd, 2022. Interesting set of numbers. All right. The very second item on the agenda is the homeowners associations that are here tonight. I know that Bobby is here tonight, Bobby O'Reilly, to represent Creekside. Do you have anything to bring forward to the board, Bobby?
Not really. The only thing that some of us have had a discussion about is that many of us are longtime residents here, and we're somewhat surprised to find that there was a border agreement with Hawthorne Woods, and we had no knowledge of it, ever did. And so I want to point out that we are much better at communicating with our residents and with our neighbors than previous boards.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. Understood. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Eleanor Estates. Anyone here from Eleanor Estates? Richard Interno? All right, I'll take that as a no, as silence. We'll now move to public comment. We did receive one written comment that has been posted on the website, Denise, correct, and was distributed to the board. Anybody here would like to, is there anyone here tonight that would like to make public comment?
Yeah, I think this is Ankur. The public comment was from me. I'm a new resident. I know I just have 3 minutes, so I'll be quick, but this is regarding climate change. I recently moved to Long Grove just about 1.5 years ago, and I wanted to get the attention of the village board to see if there is opportunity for us to talk about climate change to you, about how we as a community, as a village can help out in this urgent action, which is needed across the planet. There's no plan B, there's just one planet. So I don't want to take a lot of time, but there's a 30 to 45 minute discussion that we are seeking. I am a volunteer. I live off 83, but through my corporate initiatives as well as through my volunteer initiatives, I'd like to just get some time with the village to see if we can do something about it together. I know perhaps the village is already doing something. I've read the newsletter. There's a sustainability corner as well, but just wanted to get some attention around this topic.
Sure. Go ahead, Greg, did you have something?
Mr. President, I'd be more than happy to talk to Mr. Aker and set up some time that he, myself, and staff can sit down and talk about some ideas that he may have.
Great, we
I think-
welcome them. I mean, the other thing that we discussed and we'll be doing too is as part of the Architectural Commission, we're going to be giving them a project to look at, as new buildings come in, how can they be more green, right? And how can you, and marry that with aesthetics too, so it doesn't look so industrial. So I know that's one of the things, I think what's the terminology? Lean, I think there's a whole
Lead.
lead, okay, not lean, lead. So that's something that we're going to be looking at as well.
Okay,
So you may not be familiar with that, but we'll
right.
welcome the thoughts.
all right. Thank you. I will connect with Greg then.
Oh, yeah, Rita probably has a comment too, right? Really quick you can make, because you just listened
Well,
to the webinar, you're going to make some comments later on, right?
yes, right. I appreciate your letter, Mr. Encore, and I'm thrilled to have you bring this up and for us to be chatting with you. I agree with you. It's very important.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment tonight?
Hi, my name is Nidhi Soni, and I'm attending the meeting on behalf of Heron's Landing Board. And I'm just here to attend and observe. That's it.
All right, thanks for being, did you get the invite tonight from Heron's Landing, just out of curiosity?
Actually, I got an email. I'm not sure how the invite got to me, but our board members had decided, thought about it, that one of us should attend the meeting.
Okay,
So this time it's me.
all right, great. So somebody will be attending regularly from Heron's Landing is
Yeah.
what I understand. That's great.
Yep.
Awesome, thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks for being here.
Of course, you've got Mark and Allison Lacascio here to hear about the Checker Road traffic calming and Shaver Road traffic calming. So at this time, we don't have comments. We're here to hear what's proposed.
All right, Allison, thank you. And thank you, Mark, for joining. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Anybody else? All right, if not, we'll move over to the village planners report. And so who is going to give that? Greg?
Yeah, I can touch on it, Mr. President, members of the board, and Chairperson Wilson's here if she wants to certainly offer any insight. The recent planners report discusses the property at 3992 over in the Orchards. This piece of property, or this development for this home, this construction of this home, went for plan review. And when it went for plan review, what wasn't caught was the fact that the PUD requires a review by the Architectural Commission. Mr. Gallo and his business partner who are developing that property, as well as this is Mr. Gallo's home that he's building, went before the Architectural Commission. The Architectural Commission looked at that property and the next door property, approved both properties, but the property at 3992 was conditional on a PCZBA recommendation to the board regarding an amendment to the PUD as it impacts the anti-monotone regulations of the municipal code. The PUD requires that only 25% of the properties have front-loaded garages. The PCZBA reviewed the case and are making a recommendation to the village board to amend the PUD ordinance, allowing the front-loaded garages on up to 43% on homes within that subdivision. Helen, did I miss anything there?
No, thank you. With the stipulation that this applies only to this subdivision, which I believe was meant by your end comment.
Yes. So the recommendation to the board, or what's before the board now, is to either accept or not accept the recommendation of the PZBA or if it is to accept, to pass it to the village attorney for the drafting of the amendment to the PUD ordinance.
Well, let me first then ask the village board, are there any questions?
Well, I have a question. I have several questions, actually. I drove over to the community and see that the foundation is already in for this property. This is the first home on the left as you drive into Orchard, right?
That is correct.
So the PCZBA approved this pending board approval. I don't yet understand how the foundation is in if we haven't done that.
Yeah, quite honestly, this was during the transition of Mundaline coming on board. The PUD document, the anti-monotone regulation was missed as part of the initial review. They gave an approval. And when they started looking at the adjacent property, they found out that the anti-monotone had to be, was required, and went back and caught their mistake and went back to the builder and had him begin going through the process. It's not the first time that the developer and the builder have been through this process. They built other homes there before. And so now they're going through the process. It was a catch on us, Trustee O'Connor.
It was our error.
It was our error in the sense of during the transition, the PUD, the piece of the anti-monotone regulation of the code was missed during the PUD review. And then once it was caught, it was addressed.
But certainly the developer and the owners knew that this was a requirement from the beginning.
Well, it was to that statement. It was part of the original PUD document that was signed, I believe, in 2004 or 2005. That's correct.
So I think that one of the owners is here, if I see that correctly.
Mr. Gallo's here.
So what was, may I ask what the thinking was on that?
You mean the thinking of why we were building there?
Why you would build a front load if you knew that there was an anti-monotony provision with the entire community? Well, you know, all of the front load garages are on the north side of, it's a north side and a south side street. Right now, all of the front loads are on the north side. Was that something that just escaped your, how did that happen?
Ms. O'Connor, may I respond to that? I am the architect for the project and a resident in the same subdivision.
Please do.
My name is Milan Faramanpour. I am, as I mentioned, I live at 3996, which is the home next to the second home being built right now and has a front-loaded garage. I'm one of the original developers, as Mr. Jackson noted. Joe and I, along with a couple of other partners, started developing this property in 2003. I have to make a couple of perhaps corrections to what has been presented so far. One, that a permit was issued for the Gallows home. I think we kind of danced around that issue. It wasn't just a review, a permit was actually issued. Hence, Joe started constructing his own home, had various inspections, foundations and so forth, backfill. Nothing was mentioned about any planning issues. And number two is that this was not part of the original, the front-loaded garages is not part of the PUD document. It's actually a reference to the village zoning code that's in the PUD documents. And this has come up now as, okay, the village zoning code says 25% of homes in the in subdivisions have to be front-loaded. So it wasn't in the PUD documents. It wasn't like we were trying to either deliberately ignore it or forgot about it. It just is a reference to the code. And some, when you get a PUD approval, typically all of the conditions are noted. So, to have another reference that we are supposed to check every time we want to do something and go through the entire code to see what may or may not apply, I think, would show you that it's not a deliberate attempt here. Once Mundelein realized, only because we applied for a second building permit next to Joe's house, next to Joan Valley's home, which was under construction by then, did they realize that, wait, there's this particular requirement of the PUD, which was the Architectural Commission. Actually, it's not in the PUD document. It doesn't say the Architectural Commission. It says the Architectural Review Committee, if I remember correctly, or Appearance Review Committee, which no longer exists, of course. It has been replaced perhaps by Appearance Commission. Nevertheless, we didn't catch it. Mundelein didn't catch it. Permit was issued. We followed all of the procedures. Once they caught it on the second home, they said, okay, Joe, stop construction. We're gonna have to go through Appearance Commission, which we scheduled. We went through, they approved both of the homes at the same time. During that hearing, not 20 minutes before or the day before or during the first review when they missed the first one, they came back, Mundelein came back, I should say staff come back and said, oh, and by the way, we forgot to tell you, you also have to ask for a variance on the front-loaded garage. And both Joe and I were like, what? What are we talking about here? And why are we talking about it now in the middle of a public meeting? So that's been the history going on so far. Now, if you'd like to discuss the reasons that we presented to the PZ, Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals, I'd be happy to go through them again, but the thought was that we go through them and we justify this to them, they would make a recommendation, and then the board would go through, would take their recommendation. Nevertheless, let me repeat that it seems like this requirement in the village has been applied sporadically. One of the things I mentioned in the planning and zoning meeting was that I built a house directly south of this subdivision. That was my first home in Long Grove. And that one is a front-loaded garage in a subdivision that every single home is front-loaded. That was in 2000. It wasn't 50 years ago. The three-home subdivision just east of us has 2 homes built. One of them is front-loaded. If the other one isn't when it's built, it's still 33%. Nobody has said anything to them. Nobody said anything to me. Nobody said anything to us when the second home in our subdivision was built with a front-loaded garage, which put us over 25%.
Right.
So you can see why this was not something that was on our radar. We didn't think, frankly, I didn't even know such a thing existed because it wasn't discussed during our PUD approvals. It wasn't discussed when I built my last home. It wasn't brought up when we built the other home in the subdivision. So all of a sudden we come back and we are told, wait, this has been here all this time and you guys are trying to get around it.
Thanks.
Nobody's trying to get around anything. That's what
Thanks
we
for
are
the
trying to
comment.
do.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks for
I'm
the-
gonna,
Yeah, go ahead,
if I
Greg.
were, Mr. President, then, if there's anything that, from a historic standpoint that I can't speak to, that perhaps the village attorney can address if he's comfortable with addressing anything. But let me say this. There is no dancing around the fact that Mundelein during this transition missed the issue of the PUD and the anti-monotone code. I think I've said that from the outset. That has, there's no dispute in that regard. We didn't even suggest for a moment that Mr. Gallo dig up or remove his foundation because we were being reasonable with the process. The lack of an architectural commission in the communication about the initial PUD, it was replaced. The codes, the language in the code replaces one commission with the other. The PUD is a contractual document, at least in my eyes it is, between the village and the developer. And if we are expected as a village to look at every clause in the contract and adhere to those contracts, I would certainly think the person on the, or the parties on the other side of that contract, whether there is a reference, and contracts often have a reference without laying out particular terms, I would expect that from a best practice standpoint that not only would the village do it, but the other party would. Speaking to past implementation of the anti-monotone code, certainly I can't speak to years past, but I can speak about what our department is doing or what our staff is doing now. And that if something is in the code, it is certainly something that will be enforced. We will work with the developers and the builders as closely as we can in order for each of us to achieve our objectives. But yeah, our staff has a code that is adopted and the ordinances that are adopted by the village board. And we will continue to carry out enforcing those codes and making sure they're adhered to. We certainly know that the recommendation of the PCZBA was to approve this with the amendment to the PUD. That recommendation is, as Miran just said, is in front of the board for action. And that's the action that's being taken tonight. The code exists. The code exists. And that's all we're doing is making sure that the code's adhered to. It is not, from what I understand from past documents, and I'll go back and check, not the first time that these parties were in front of the Architectural Commission. They've been in front of the Architectural Commission in the past. They know that the role of the Architectural Commission is to look at anti-monotone and to look at the outside of structures. That's their role. And I'll defer to Vic if Vic has anything.
Vic, do you want to make any comments or?
The only thing I would say is that the ordinance that was originally approved specifically says that, and let me read it to you just so there's no ambiguity about it. Says design standards. The applicant shall submit elevations, detailed plans and renderings for review and approval by the Architectural Board of Review. I note that the name of that entity has changed to get rid of review, I believe. This was predating the 2007 update of our zoning code. It goes on to state that the elevations and detailed plans and renderings shall include without limitation details regarding the exterior architectural styles, etc. In addition, the applicant shall comply with the architectural control regulations contained in chapters 5-20 and 5-22 of the Long Grove zoning code. Those are the predecessor to our current provisions in 5-3-11, which is the anti-monotony regulations. So these regulations have been in place from the outset. Certainly years have passed, people may have forgotten, but everyone is expected to know the law and to follow it. And the explanation of, well, they didn't catch me is not a justification for not complying. And I think that, you know, I trusted it was an honest error, and that likewise, it was an oversight that was honestly made by the Mundelein staff as they were transitioning into the role that they're playing for the village right now. But to suggest that somehow the fact that they weren't caught excuses them from the regulations is simply not correct.
Any other comments from the trustees here on this one? Can we move to the next item on the agenda, which would be to?
Sir, can I speak up being the owner and the developer of that property?
I don't know if it'll change the outcome, I think, of the situation at this point. But go ahead if you must. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've abided by everything. I had no problem doing architectural review. I had no problem doing the zoning review at that point. Given the location of the lot, we designed the house to fit that particular lot. It wasn't with the intent to sneak something in or do things differently. I lived there for 15 years in the corner with a large house with a side load garage. And I figured I could never get my truck in here, so it was convenient to turn around and do a front load garage in this house to make it more accessible. You know, I just can't stress enough that this was an honest mistake. I mean, we didn't know about it. Otherwise, I would have followed all the rules that I had to follow at that point.
Thank you for that. If we could then move to the next item on the agenda, if there's no other comment, which is, basically discussion of amendment to section 4 of the Orchard of Long Grove PUD ordinance for an exception to chapter 3, section 5-3-11B, anti-monotone regulations of Long Grove Municipal Code to allow for front load garages up to 43% of homes within the subdivision. What we're looking for, I believe, is a motion to have the village attorney draft up to the appropriate paperwork to support this. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by trustee
Second.
Tanucci, seconded by trustee Micho. That is a roll call.
Trustee Tanucci,
Aye.
trustee Micho,
Aye.
trustee Borowski,
Aye.
is trustee Kritzmeyer here yet?
I don't see here.
Okay, trustee O'Connor
Hey,
Okay,
and trustee O'Reilly.
No,
all right. Let's see. Oh, we did it. The motion carried. I don't need to vote, right? It's correct. Vic?
3 and 2.
3 and 2. Yeah. So. All right. Motion carried. Well, it'll be on the agenda for the next meeting. Thank you. Moving along, the village engineers report. Village engineer Perry, you are up.
All right, thank you. So I've got a few updates for you tonight. The full engineers report is in the board packet. A couple things I'll highlight at this point. Number 1 and number 2 are the ongoing construction projects, the Stemple parking lot and the Robert Parker Coffin pathway. Both of those are in winter season delays. Working on getting a time and action plan from each of the contractors so that we have a roadmap to getting those complete once the weather breaks. So as I get that, I will share that with the village and with the board. Number 5 on the engineer's update is the traffic calming. That's got its own spot next on the agenda, so I'll skip over that for now. The 2022 road maintenance program, which is going to be the resurfacing of Oak Grove Drive and Oak Grove Circle with alternates of Chickamauga and Robert Parker Coffin. I was notified last week that Killdeer and Ela Township would like to join that program, making it a single contract and a joint bid, almost a consortium type. As you may recall, this approach has been done probably 4 out of 5 of the last years, just to make it advantageous for both Killdeer, Long Grove, and also Ela Township to get some economies of scale. I know we talked about this a couple of board meetings ago and wanted to get this out to bid in early March. The drawback of Killdeer and Ela Township joining would be bidding it later in March, but we still think that that's a favorable time frame to bid the project. And I wanted just to bring that forward for direction. My recommendation would be to move forward with Killdeer and Ela Township joining the road program.
Hey, Jeff, just real quick. I know Bobby has a question too, but let me just ask this one. We were going to go get approval to use the MFT funds, right? Does
Yep.
that change any of that?
No,
So that step is already in the works. We're
Correct.
waiting for that approval, right?
correct.
Okay. And when do you think we're going to have that approval? Just out of curiosity.
That'll come right before the project goes out to bid. So
Oh, wow.
it's got the paperwork, but they don't issue their approval until just before.
Okay, so but is that just procedurally, they wait until the last minute or?
Correct. It's a procedural thing, correct.
Okay, got it. All right. Trustee O'Reilly, you had a question?
Jeff, my question would be, have you any inkling of how pricing is going to go this year with oil being such a volatile issue?
So, yeah, good question. Something everybody wants to know. It goes a little bit up and a little bit down each day. But
which is it doing most?
We haven't seen any large swings in overall construction costs. Because as I think I went through a couple meetings ago, the oil, it is fluctuating a lot, but it's a small component of the asphalt itself.
Okay.
Jeff, if Killdeer and Ela have their ducks lined up, when would they be ready? Do you think they would be ready, mid-March and end of March? How long could they not have their ducks lined up and it be a disadvantage to us?
Well, I'll put it this way. I've had conversations with both Killdeer and Ela, and I said, this thing needs to go out to bid the end of March. And they said, okay. So they're working hard to make that happen.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
But then should we do a drop dead date? If you're not ready, we're going?
I think it's a good idea, Jeff.
What's that?
I think it's a good idea.
My idea is, here's the date by which Ela must be and Killdeer must be ready to go. If they're not ready to go, we're going anyway.
Yeah, and I think that date becomes, just kind of looking at the calendar, becomes 2 weeks from today.
Well, I'm a proponent of deadlines. And I think they need to know what our deadline is. We certainly want to cooperate, but on the other hand, we need to be practical too. So is that the feeling of the board that we would do that?
Let's go around the horn, right? Yeah, Rita, you're talking?
Yeah, when Jeff and I talked about this afternoon, we both said, it's good to be a good neighbor. What one helps the other, but not to our detriment or disadvantage. We specifically moved it up this year so that we wouldn't be caught. We wouldn't be, waiting till the end as has sometimes happened in the past. So I would feel really comfortable with here's a date by which we need to know. Can you do that? And if they say, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Trustee Borowski?
Would the other entities need to get like board approval to give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down? And if so, is there a time schedule that we'd have to pay attention to? Or not?
So Ely Township is not using motor fuel tax funds. And the village of Killdeer is prepared to move forward without motor fuel tax funds as well, so that the bid schedule that by the end of March is not impacted.
So beside convenience, there's no specific schedule that they would be bound to?
No.
Okay.
Not
I'm good with that.
anything changes, which I don't think much can change with the time frame we're talking about.
Trustee Tanucci?
Yeah, I definitely support setting a deadline. It just makes sense to let them know what our deadline is. And if they can live within that, then we go forward. And if not, then we go forward without them.
All right, thank you. Trustee Michaud?
I guess the only question I have is, are the cost savings of grouping with them worth pushing our deadline back?
Yeah,
if they can't meet it?
It's a risk reward, right? That's the issue, is what you're saying, yeah. Jeff?
So, I mean, the Long Grove has experienced those economies of scale. Tough to say exactly what they were, because we don't have it bid, without them. But over the years, that's been anywhere, 5% savings.
So if we waited and did it on our own without them, we have the potential of losing 5%. But if we wait, what is the cost of that? Not getting on the schedule, is that our concern?
From the village
Does that
side,
make, yes. So let's say they can't meet our deadline and we go, or if, let's say they ask for us to wait longer, what is the ramifications of pushing out that deadline?
I mean, we want to hit that spring bid window. And
Okay.
typically that ends right around the end of March, early April. That's why, I'm saying, let's get everything from Killdeer and Ela by March 8th. That way we can submit that over to the state and make that end of March bid schedule.
Okay. So yes, I think a deadline's great. I think it's probably going to be in their best interest, so they'll make it. So, yes.
So Jeff, just going back to this whole conversation again, because, could we be in a position if we didn't do this with Kildare and Ela or Keela or whatever it's called, would we be in a position at the next board meeting to, put this out to bid, right? Make the decision to put it out to bid at the next board meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll have all of the information beforehand, like, the Thursday before the meeting from Ela and Kildare, I'll probably have, hey, we're, dotting the final I's and crossing the final T's, but yes.
So you think we could be in a position to have a?
Yeah, well, I think it'll be in the position on March 8th where everything is done and we submit it to the state. Now, because we have to get the approval for use of the motor fuel tax funds and Rebuild Illinois funds for Long Grove, the state will have a 1-week review. So extrapolating out the schedule, submitting it over to the state March 8th, March 9th, puts it out to bid on March 17th. The state likes Thursday bids, and that would then allow a 2-week bid window for bids to be open and read aloud on March 31st.
All right, I'm still a little bit confused, but I think what we're saying is we'll be in a position at the next board meeting to have a bid spec that can be submitted to the state for the MFT funds, but it's almost like, since they're not using MFT funds, that shouldn't be holding it up, or is it?
Yeah, but it's one contract. So even though one person is using those funds, everybody is subject to the state's review.
Okay. All right, so as it's described to the board, everyone okay with that?
As long as we can meet those dates, I'm good.
Okay, if there's any no's, speak up now, or we're gonna give Jeff permission to plow along with that deadline, right? We really wanted to see have everything done by our next board meeting. Okay. I think you got direction.
Okay, thank you. The next item that I'll highlight is number 9, the Robert Park Coffin Road Covered Bridge, the abutment project, continues to get American Public Works Association awards. We were notified that won at the chapter level, and I saw the communication, and I actually helped Greg write it, that the previous award was kind of at the local level. This one is at the regional level. So looking at getting the regional award at the March 18th banquet in Addison. Found out earlier today that the local award is going to be awarded at a banquet June 2nd, 2022. So kind of out of order there, if kind of weird getting the local after you get the regional, but that's the world we live in these days. And I also did confirm that since this won at the regional level, it's automatically entered into the national nomination and lack of a better word, contest. So
So can this escalate to a worldwide award?
worldwide,
So Jeff, we get a trophy, don't we?
is within the US.
We-
Would be
we don't
nice.
get any- We don't get any money, we just get a trophy, right?
A nice plaque.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, so the next item here is the force main replacement that the Lake County Public Works Department is doing on Three Lakes and Robert Parker Coffin Road. The last board meeting, I reported that they were looking at a March construction, but material shortages and delays have impacted that. Spoke with the county yesterday, and they are working with their contractor on alternate materials to maintain the spring construction. So I do not have a schedule for that yet, but I continue to talk to Dave Humbert over at the county so that I know what that schedule is as soon as we know it, because I know that there's going to be a lot of people impacted by it, and we want to get that message out as soon as we can. And then the last item, just under miscellaneous, I wanted to highlight there's still a banging on the bridge on the west side as vehicles get onto that transition plate. There's a bang between that and the concrete. The township is going to address that, but won't be able to do that until weather allows, probably in another month. So I'm going to follow up with our friends over at Ela Township next week to start talking about a schedule on that one as well, because we want to notify that as well, as the bridge will be closed for a few hours for them to do that work.
Is there any damage being done from that? Or is it strictly a neighbor thing?
No damage yet. It's certainly a sound nuisance. If that is allowed to go on for a prolonged time frame, could there be eventual damage? Probably.
Okay,
So
thanks.
Any other questions for Jeff on the engineer's report?
No.
Thanks, Jeff. Well, then I'm going to let you take the discussion on the traffic calming options for Checker and Schaefer Road.
okay.
I gave you control too, so if you want to, I don't know if you notice that.
Okay. All right, let me let's see here. Actually, would you be able to pull
I
up
can
the
present.
exhibits and cycle?
Yeah, however you want me to do it, I can do it. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let me, which one do you want to start with?
Okay, we'll start with number one here. Okay, so the Checker Road traffic calming, this is a continuation of this discussion from the January 25th board meeting. After that meeting, our office looked at alternate locations for any of the traffic calming devices, and then the time delay that's associated with the traffic choker option specifically. So at the January 25th meeting, we talked about a lot of different traffic calming devices. And similar to the discussion that we had then, the exhibits show the traffic choker, but these locations could be used for any of the traffic calming measures that we talked about on January 25th, which include the chokers were, as these exhibits show, but speed humps, speed bumps, speed tables, etc. So after the board meeting, the first thing we looked at was alternate locations. The first one is what was presented and in the board packet for January 25th. There's a little location map in the bottom left corner of the exhibit. This location is 1,800 feet east of Schaefer Road. This one is roughly halfway between Schaefer Road and Arlington Heights Road. An advantage of this location is that it's the best location to address speed for the entire stretch between Schaefer and Arlington Heights Road if there's one choker. And with this location, you won't be able to see the traffic calming device from either direction until you're on it. So you're going to be on the cut through route or on Checker Road. And once you get to it, you're going through it. There's little to no opportunity to turn around or find another course at that point. The disadvantages to this location, kind of just recapping some of the conversation from a month ago, was this location, although it is halfway between Schaefer and Arlington Heights Road, it's not in front of, and it's quite a bit of distance away from the residents on Checker Road. So we looked at a couple other options. Bill, if you can go to number 2. This location is 500 feet west of the first one. Looking at the location map, you'll see this is 1,300 feet east of Schaefer Road. So this location, looking at it and reviewing it, it's going to force motorists to slow down before the openness of Checker Road. And I refer to the open area being the eastern portion where you've got the forest preserve land on the south side. So they'll have to slow down, going east before they get to the open stretch. So, won't be able to increase their speed before that. And conversely, if you're coming from the other direction, traveling westbound, you will need to stop before you enter the residential area, referring to the residents on the south side of Checker Road. This location is closer to the intersection of Checker and Schaefer. So, and it's closer to some of the residential roads. This one, there is a potential that if somebody's traveling eastbound, sees some stopped cars, they may use one of the driveways or Pheasant Run to turn around, whether that be to go return south on Schaefer or wind through Country Club Estates. But certainly a possibility. Driver behavior is somewhat unpredictable. Bill, if you can go to option number 3. This one's the closest to the intersection of Checker and Schaefer. This one is on Checker Road, and it is 700 feet east of Schaefer. This one's certainly right in the thick of the main area of concern, as has been previously discussed. Requires vehicles to stop in the residential area, if you will, from both directions. So would impact vehicle speed, whether they're traveling east in the morning or west in the evening. This location, if you're stopped at the stop sign of Schaefer and Checker, if you look east, you may be able to see this. And if there's vehicles stacked up or anything like that, again, driver behavior, hard to predict, but there is a possibility that drivers, if they see delays to their east, they would seek alternate routes, whether that be going west, going south back on Schaefer. And the fourth option, as we discussed at the January board meeting, is on Schaefer Road at the Forest Preserve Trail Crossing. This is about 700 feet north of Lake Cook Road, for some reference. Now, this location is not within the village of Long Grove. It's in unincorporated Lake County, Vernon Township. So if this location for traffic calming is pursued, it would require coordination and approval and financing by Vernon Township unless there's some other arrangement reached. So this is a good location for traffic calming, since that's a trail crossing. Would certainly improve safety there. And going back to the speed study that Vernon Township did a few years ago, those of you that remember the conversation and read the study, there was that one car that was going very, very fast through here. So if there's a traffic calming through here, that guy would certainly need to slow down. That driver, excuse me. There's some pros to this location. There's some cons to this location. I would add that to date, the village has not had any conversations with Vernon Township on traffic calming on Schaefer. I would add that if this is the only traffic control device, it doesn't address specifically the volume and speed of traffic on Checker Road.
You know, I'm going to just make a comment here because I know Allison was on the call that I was on. We did ask when they were they just regraded this, and we asked them to either put a stop sign or put some, blinking lights and so forth in here, and they were not, the Vernon Township was not agreeable. So I just wanted to give that as a background. And I know Allison, who's on the call tonight, was aware of that because I made her aware of the meeting with Vernon Township for feedback here on this, on the setup. So.
Okay.
Jeff, could you give me a piece of information? In a 200-foot area, how many cars would fit in there?
You mean stopped?
Yeah.
So we figure 200 feet if they're stopped, allow 30 feet per car.
Okay, that's what I need.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so the next thing that we looked at, there was some discussion on how much time delay would a choker on Checker Road cause on a driver seeking to use this cut-through route. So there's a memo in the board packet, and there's a lot of numbers. There was a lot of math that went into this, and I just want to kind of go through it just a little bit. I'm gonna kind of go through it at a higher level. If there's any specific questions, and we can drill down from there. So the first table in this memorandum, and I'm looking at the memo dated February 18th, 2022, and it was prepared by Ross Hasman from our office. So the table in the middle that starts with AM and peak and AM peak and PM peak. This is the travel time for motorists that go through the cut through. So from the corner of Schaefer and Lake Cook Road to Checker Arlington Heights Road, whether they go eastbound in the morning or westbound in the evening. We actually studied it both ways for each period. Just as a frame of reference, AM peak and PM peak is the peak 15 minutes in the day. In the morning, it's 7:45 to 8 o'clock. And in the evening, it's 5 o'clock to 5:15. So in that table, the first column labeled has an average travel time, and that's in seconds. So in the morning, if you're going east through the cut through, so that would be east on Lake Cook Road, north on Schaefer, east on Checker, and then finally north on Arlington Heights Road. Takes you 200.5 seconds to travel that corridor. Conversely, in the evening, going through that corridor in the opposite direction is 227.5 seconds. Converting that to minutes, you got 3.3 minutes in the morning going east, 3.8 minutes going west in the evening. So I just wanted to put that out there because I'm going to come back to those times. That'll put some of the delays into reference. I did want to mention the delays in using the cut through. There are delays either entering or exiting that cut through. So in the mornings, there's delays making a left turn from Lake Cook Road onto Schaefer, and then the left from Checker going north on Arlington Heights Road. Using both of those left turns in the morning, there's a delay added to using the cut through of 38.5 seconds. An interesting finding, at the bottom row of the delay is 65.5 seconds. That's the delay associated with making the 2 right turns, the right turn from Arlington Heights Road onto westbound Checker, and then the right turn from Checker from Schaefer onto westbound Lake Cook Road. Conventionally, right turns are easier to make than left turns, and that's correct. The reason that you get 65.5 seconds of delay making the right turn from Schaefer onto Lake Cook Road very difficult in the evening, just due to the amount of cars that's coming at you from Buffalo Grove. That amount of cars significantly reduces the acceptable gaps, as we call them, to safely make that right-hand turn. Again, the travel times, that's in there because I'm going to refer back to those here in a second. The second table is the delay associated with the choker. We actually got some field data from the choker on Long Grove Road just to see how motorists navigate through that so that we could apply those principles here. Now, okay, so the first column is the acceleration deceleration delay. So the choker, you need to stop, or you need to slow down and then speed up. So that's an average of 8.4 seconds to go through those 2 maneuvers. The next column is the additional delay. So that is the time on the first row to come to a complete stop. So you've got 2 seconds between the time your tires stop to the time they start spinning. Now, if each vehicle comes to a complete stop and waits the 2 seconds, like Secretary of State tells you, we'll leave that discussion for another time and another day. Going down, you've got the number of 6.2. 6.2 is the seconds that you're going to be delayed at the choker if there's a vehicle that has to maneuver through the choker coming from the opposite direction. So if there's one vehicle coming towards you, you're going to have the 8.4 second delay for the acceleration deceleration, plus 6.2 seconds to wait for the other car to navigate the choker. So you're going to be delayed 14.6 seconds. So again, a lot of math and a lot of numbers here, but just to kind of sum this up. So in the peak AM, that's the 200.5 seconds, the 3.3 minutes. If you're the only car that comes up to the choker, you're going to be delayed 10.4 seconds. So that's going to increase your travel time by 5% to 210.9 seconds. Now, if again, in the peak AM, if there's 5 vehicles opposing you at the choker, your travel time would increase by 39.4 seconds, which is 19%. So both 19% certainly a significant number. 5% is certainly something that will be noticed. Now, we talked at the January board meeting that there's going to be likely going to be an unequal distribution of cars in the AM and the PM. So you may come to the choker, have 5 cars stopped in front of you and nobody coming the other way. We did the math on that one, and that would increase your travel time through the choker, because you'd have to slow down, speed up, and then, wait the 2 seconds for each car. That would increase the time going through the choker by 10% in the AM peak. So 220.9 seconds. So significant numbers. One thing that I'd just like to throw out there for reference, if you're driving eastbound Lake Cook Road and go through the intersection, Lake Cook Road and Arlington Heights Road, and make that left, this morning, the average time to do that was 164 seconds, 2.73 minutes. And our study was that same route, trying to get from Schaefer and Lake Cook to Checker and Arlington Heights. If you use the cut through, you get 200.9 seconds. So that certainly seems a bit strange. So that's what we found out from this morning. It seems to me that there's a little of the what I would refer to as the gotta be moving syndrome. People know you get stuck at the red light.
So,
and-
hey, Jeff, you did seconds and minutes. So it's 3.34 minutes to cut through versus
3.3, yep.
2.7 minutes to go
Yeah.
through Arlington Heights Road, Lake Cook to Arlington Heights Road. Okay, just putting it all in the same
Yep,
terms.
yep.
Okay, I'm following you.
So it's faster to stay on the main road?
That's what we found this
he just
morning,
said.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought I heard. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah. And the only analogy I can really give you on that is last Thursday when I was trying to get home from work, I kind of suffered the same thing that, I can drive on Route 45, which is bumper to bumper, or I can try to side street it thinking that I'm going to save time. I never do, but I do think that as well. So that's the got to be moving syndrome.
Can I
So-
interject something here?
Yeah.
It appears you're not saving time, but the people that are cutting through aren't doing the speed limit. So if you're doing the speed limit, you might not be saving time, but the people that are cutting through aren't, and that's where they're saving their time and making it worth their while. So I appreciate the study and it makes sense. But in theory, in reality, the cut through is a way to speed because we don't have any, there's no officer sitting there. There's nobody to enforce the speed limit. So they take advantage of that. And I just wanted to share that.
And one more comment. The numbers that you were talking about with the time for the cut through versus not cutting through, if you take those people and they don't cut through, now you're adding a significant delay to going straight on Lake Cook Road to Arlington Heights Road, right? So that's going to impact that, right? So that's probably why people started cutting through in the first place.
Yeah, so just Allison, back to your comment, I did want to note that we came up with this 200.5 seconds, at 3.3 minutes, by actually driving that corridor. So it actually, if you do the math, it's just under 3 minutes to go through there driving the speed limit. But due to the number of cars, because there's some going faster, some going slower, took an average of 200.5 seconds in car time to do that. So we didn't base that on the math.
Got it. So that's an average of people speeding and people going the speed limit.
Correct.
Okay.
I know you're going to get to a conclusion. I see Norbert's had his hand raised for a while, so I know we want to get to a conclusion. Norbert, do you need to say something now, or can we wait till Jeff's finished?
So I wanted to ask, my understanding is that the length between Arlington Heights Road and Schaefer with along Checker is 4,000 feet. And the first exhibit was 1,800 feet. Was there a reason that it couldn't be dead in the middle at 2,000 feet?
Yes, there is. That property is not within the village of Long Grove.
Got it. Thank you.
So just to wrap it all up, so with the speed delay study, the chokers certainly impact speed and time. Considering all of the traffic calming options and the discussions we've had so far, our office would recommend a choker at location number 2, which is the one that's 1,300 feet east of Schaefer Road. This addresses the major area of concern. Location number 2 is before the open corridor and curtails speed going east, and then also forces traffic to stop from the east to increase the safety. And as I mentioned earlier, it's far enough away from Schaefer Road to minimize people seeing it and altering their behavior if they see anybody that is stopped or delayed at the choker. So I think at this point, I will conclude what is in the board packet and turn it back to the board for discussion.
Yeah, and I note that Allison or Mark, you have your hand raised again.
Yeah, one comment about location number 2 is there's driveways and Pheasant Run and Cardinal Way, which encompasses 15 different houses for ingress and egress to their homes. And if you locate the choker at that location number 2, based on the volume of traffic at those times, those peak times, we're not going to be able to get in and out of our driveways. And that's going to impact about 15 homeowners. And we have an issue with that already, even without the choker during those peak times. So adding a choker, if it is in fact effective, which that is the goal, right? Then, we could be sitting there for who knows how long, just trying to exit or enter.
And I'm going to add to that, option 1 actually seems like a good location because it's also closer to the forest preserve as well, where people are trying to pull out, and it's kind of, because it's at a hill, it's a little harder to see what's coming. So it might actually help the people that are entering and exiting the forest preserve on Checker Road as well at location 1.
Thank you for those comments.
If I
I
can
have a question.
one last time here. The last January 25th, we talked about a beta test or a field test, and there was a couple options that were discussed out there for that. The village still has the orange Jersey barriers that were used when the bridge cover was not in place. That those could be used to fashion a choker. There is a concern that those barriers, much like when they were at the bridge, will be moved. So there is also an option, to rent concrete barriers for a period of time and construct a choker out of those, just to kind of see exactly, to Mark and Allison's comment, real world data of what the impact of the traffic is going to be. And the beta test in either of those traffic Jersey barrier options would allow those to be easily kind of set in place and easily removed, depending on what the data finds.
Jeff, what do you think is a reasonable amount of time to experiment regarding location?
I think you want it in place for at least a week.
10 days, weeks, longer?
Because, you'll have the initial people that don't know how to react to it. And then you'll have them learning to react and navigate through it. And then the week would also allow, by the end of it, people to, are they going to continue to use that route, or are they going to seek other routes? So initially, kind of, when you open a new store, really do anything new, a lot of people reaction to it is not the real reaction because you're just getting used to it. So that's why I say a week.
Is that long enough? I mean, I asked you a question, you answered it, and I don't mean to argue with you, but and I guess I would ask a second question, would 2 weeks be better? Maybe phrase it that way.
Well, 2 weeks would certainly get you the normal, get you more into that normal function route.
Well, let me ask the question another way. So if we were actually going to make it permanent, wouldn't you just leave it in there until you made it permanent? I mean, what's the cost to do this? Is it expensive to rent concrete barriers?
Okay, so concrete barriers to rent them. Depends on how long you want to rent them, but I would peg that order of magnitude, a week to 2 weeks, let's say 2 weeks, $2,500.
But that's better than dropping 25,000 and finding out we put it in the wrong place.
If we use the barrels, what is the cost for that, including staff time to set it up?
So it would just be the time for Ela Township, assuming that they would put them there as the village's public works department, the time to get them from the water treatment plant, put them in place and fill them with water. So I'd imagine that would be less than $1,000, probably more on the $500 side.
To our neighbors, we have an intergovernmental relationship with ELA, and then
Vernon.
we also have one with Mundelein. We've also got I'm sorry, Buffalo Grove right next door. Those resources, would they be likely to let us borrow for a couple of weeks, you think? You know that equipment better than I. That's why I'm asking, Jeff.
Yeah, the water filled are the villages, and we could let anybody move those for us. The concrete Jersey barriers, I don't know for sure if Mundelein or Buffalo Grove has any of those. Either has them in general or has them available. I could certainly check that out.
Do we have enough of the ones that can be filled with water to
So there's
create?
still 14 of them over there.
Oh, okay.
Or do you augment the ones, with a couple of concrete ones to make it so that somebody can't move them around, Do you do something like that? So,
Yeah, put some concrete in the, the straight section, if you will, where the roads are the narrowest.
right. And the other ones where they move them, they're still gonna have a problem, right? So I don't know. I don't know. I just turn it over to the board. What do you think of piloting at this idea that's being put before us by Jeff Perry tonight?
Questions, Bill?
Sure.
Jeff, your data for the amount of time it takes to drive 53 in Lake Cook, or I'm sorry, Arlington Heights and Lake Cook, is that based on current traffic, or has traffic returned to pre-COVID levels? Or where are we at in terms of like the number of people actually on the road right now versus 2 years ago when the traffic study was done?
So all the data was based on traveling over the last 2 weeks.
Okay, would your transportation engineers agree or disagree, or where are we versus pre-COVID levels? Because so many companies in my personal experience have not yet reopened, and I don't think the traffic's back on the roads yet. And I'm sure the residents would disagree, but from
Well,
my
I would
perspective,
agree with you.
right? I just don't know if we can say that it's comparable or only adding 39-second delay. I mean, there's a reason people use that road. It's because it made sense at the time. But that's an opinion. I'm trying to see if we get some data or fact. Do we know whether that's traffic counts there and the travel time is the same as pre or post-COVID, or what are we comparing here? Apples to apples or not?
Yeah, and that's interesting. And I thought about that question. And a couple of weeks ago, Lake Cook had traffic data at Arlington Heights and Checker, actual traffic counts, and I was wondering when they took those counts. And they actually used traffic counts, if I remember right, from 2017. It was pre-COVID, so they didn't count those either. So I say that, and our traffic engineers and myself agree with your statements there that a lot of people are still working from home.
Yeah, and we don't know what's going to happen afterwards, right? I mean, I talked to a customer today. They're going to completely remote working model forever. They're never coming back to the office. We're seeing more and more of that. But having said that, I just wonder if we're comparing data, whether we're comparing proper data sets or not. I do have kind of a common question again, maybe. It is a public road. We pay for the public road. We salt it, we maintain it. All the residents pay for that road. I really struggle with putting a blockade up, if you will, to intentionally delay people's travel on a public road that they pay for. I really struggle with that. I realize there's a safety issue there. Of course, there's a safety issue on a lot of roads. There's a safety issue on every road, just different levels, of course. My opinion is we start out small and we see if we can use the least disruptive mitigation methods to try to do it. You know, why aren't we putting the signs up and the flashers and, you know, fake traffic cameras or speed signs up there now, even if they're maybe not quote unquote enforceable? Why don't we use some temporary devices to slow the flow, like the speed tables you recommended? I really struggle with like stopping people. Jeff's data at 5 cars is only, hey, 39 seconds, but the number of cars going through there at peak was in the hundreds, right, Jeff? It wasn't just 5 cars, right? So to me, I think your data is a little bit misleading, saying we're only going to add 39 seconds of delay to person travel through there, because it's not just going to be 5 cars waiting there. It's going to be a big long line of cars waiting there, I think. But the traffic study we have is 2 years old pre-COVID, and I don't know if it's accurate anymore. So anyway, I just really, I think about snakes, right? I mean, to get rid of snakes, you got 2 options. You can cut its head off, or you can get rid of the mice, right? So to me, I think we try to get rid of the mice before we just cut the snake off and block the road. You know, and I know it's not blocking the road, I get it, but if you put 50 cars in that line and now you multiply that delay time by 10, you block the road. Traffic to me is like a sieve. If you block all the roads and you only leave one little hole left in the bottom of the sieve, all that water's got to wait to go through that one little hole. But if you leave the holes open, traffic oozes through and it finds a way to dissipate in different ways, in different directions. If we had nothing but cul-de-sacs in Long Grove, we force all the traffic on the main arterials, and what we end up doing is building our own traffic problems. Whereas if the roads weren't all cul-de-sacs and cars could filter some left, some right, some north, some south, you don't create those kind of bottlenecks. And to me, creating more bottlenecks to put more of our residents into the intersection of 83 and Arlington Heights Road also should be considered. If I left tonight's meeting on that note, Bill, you still have enough quorum to continue until Ann gets here?
Oh, you need to leave?
Well, I do have a personal issue that I really need to take care of this evening, and I don't know if our
I still have a quorum, so.
Okay. And my last comment is, if you do anything there, we should have a fully noticed public meeting so that we can get the entire community's perspective. I mean, obviously, this is something that the residents of the intersection in question will care about. And it certainly is beneficial to them, but the rest of the community also pays for that road and should have a properly noticed hearing or ability to voice their opinion before they go do something. Is kind of my last comment.
Thanks, Trustee Borowski, for your comments. Hope everything's okay.
Yeah, everything's fine. I just have a personal issue I need to take care of tonight that I've delayed as long as I can. I just can't do it anymore.
Thank you.
All right. So with that, I'm gonna check out this evening, and I apologize for leaving early, but I just need to. I'm sorry.
All right. I'll just go around the horn. Trustee O'Reilly, any comments?
I almost feel the same as Chris does. I hate blocking traffic in any way, because people are creative and they work around it, and sometimes that effect is worse than what you're trying to correct. Having said that, I would sense that the rest of the board is going to go forward with this, but I do agree a public notice, public meeting is really mandatory, because though we hear some voices about wanting it, I suspect there may be a lot of voices out there opposing it. And I kind of need that perspective, because I haven't heard much of the people who would oppose it. But I think of those 50 cars blocking access for neighbors to get in and out of their homes as being a problem. Having said that, if we're going to go forward with this after that public meeting, let's be certain that any testing that we do not do it while children are on vacation. That when kids are out of school, it throws everything off. And so it needs to be when kids are in school.
Let me ask this too, just, I think I heard you say that you wouldn't want to do any testing until we did a public hearing is what you're saying, correct?
That, yes,
Okay,
that would be the progress to do.
okay. All right. Thank you. Trustee Micho?
I'm just gonna make it easy and I'm gonna say I agree with Chris and Bobby. So I don't have much to add. They kind of sum up exactly what I'm thinking.
Okay, thank you for that. Trustee Tanucci?
So I also agree with what Chris is saying. I'm leaning against it. I also want to keep an open mind though. So with that, I have a question.
Please.
This question is for Jeff. So as I understand it, the greatest impact to speed reduction would occur at or near the choker. And the impact would lessen as you get further and further away from the choker. Is that a fair assumption? Okay. Also, you have the greatest impact to neighbors getting in and out of checker when you put the choker right where they are, as was stated earlier. So on the one hand, you can give the best benefit to the neighbors, and benefit defined as lowering the speeds by putting it where they live. On the other hand, you're impacting their ability to get in and out of the roads by putting it where they live. So there's a benefit and there's a downside. And if you move it further away from them so that they can get in and out of the roads, you're also reducing the benefit of the choker in the first place. So I'm struggling with that. I'm also struggling with, as Chris has said, choking or obstructing public roads. But again, I want to keep an open mind. But I think what I just explained is a legitimate trade-off. To give the best speed reduction, we're creating a different problem for the residents. And to eliminate that problem, we're reducing, or how do I want to say, we're eliminating part of the benefit of the choker if we move it too far from where they live. I'm not sure how to address that.
Thank you for your comments. Trustee Tanucci, Trustee O'Connor.
I do not disagree with what has been said. I would suggest, in view of what the comments are, is that we not strive for perfect, but we strive for the best we can do for safety purposes of the residents and the children. I would suspicion that at least some of those people speeding live in the neighborhood. They're not all outsiders. When I'm on suburban streets all the time, and I noticed that the people who speed down the street are the ones who came out of the driveway half block down, or they turn into a driveway a couple blocks up. You know, they kind of feel like they're entitled. I'm not saying it's all of them. It doesn't make any difference who it is. The problem exists. And given what everybody has said, what if the 2-week experiment was a temporary speed table with a stop sign, which doesn't create the bottleneck. It allows traffic to flow a little better. It does slow it down because you got a stop sign there. Speed table is going to slow it down. It doesn't have to be a choker. We can experiment with both. But I think that I would prefer we err on the side of safety to do something. What we've tried thus far works temporarily. The police can't live in the neighborhood. You know, I don't want the school buses being passed. I don't want people speeding. I want people to enjoy where they live.
Well,
So
Rita, just to clarify,
yeah,
I don't want that either.
Oh, I know.
Just because I don't want A doesn't mean I want B.
Sure, I understand. And I understand, period. that maybe the speed table is the way to go, not the choker.
And that could be an option. So can I bring this to a conclusion? It seems like everyone's agreeing that we should do a public hearing of some sort. I don't know if that can be at the beginning of a board meeting or it needs to be a separate meeting. Maybe it's a separate meeting where we invite residents, all residents, but somehow we communicate to the residents in that area. And we present, the options, right? I think you've probably got to go with, maybe we'd like to pilot it at a certain location. I don't know if you want to go through the whole scenarios that we went through here, but we go before the residents and say, here's what we're thinking about doing, get public input, and then assuming positive input, proceed to a pilot. Would everyone be agreeable to that?
I'm good with that.
Sure.
And I would look for Village Manager Jackson to help get that set up. It may have to be on a different day or whatever.
I think the idea of doing it before a board meeting, dedicate 45 minutes or an hour and stick to a timetable. And in this forum, people don't need to leave their home and could be a very efficient meeting to get people's attitude public.
Can we do it at the very next meeting possibly?
Sorry, I know I left, but not everybody's a Zoom fan,
Ah,
I mean, really, it's a lot of people don't use Zoom, right?
well, the other question we don't know, let's see, the executive order expires again when?
Well, I thought it was thrown out of court already, didn't it?
Well, the mask.
That's February 28th, or
You
maybe.
mean the declaration of, the disaster declaration, is that what
Yeah,
you-
disaster declaration, yeah,
I believe it's March 6th.
March 6th, yeah, so,
Well, why don't we let Craig figure it out?
yeah, we don't have to solve that problem tonight, but
Either way, there are people that are still concerned about being in public places next to each other, so.
well, and
You
what
do a-
we may end up doing is a hybrid meeting anyways at the next one if we're still allowed to. So that would be the best of both worlds. Those that want to come in person, they can. Those that want to join via video. If the disaster declaration, right, get the right words, disaster declaration, not the executive order is still in place, then we can do that very easily. So,
I'll go to work on it.
all right.
Just a quick question or comment to follow up from my remarks. This is again for Jeff. I don't need an answer tonight, but something maybe for next time. Is there a location which would simultaneously slow traffic down enough to benefit the residents who live at the affected area, but not cause long enough backups that the residents would have trouble getting out of their driveways and streets? In other words, is there some acceptable compromise for the location?
So I guess to that, I would, that being the objective, I would recommend, one of those other traffic calming devices such as the speed table that Rita mentioned. And there's plenty of locations that those are installed without stop signs. I know George Yeager was here and I remember him commenting in the past that he drives in Germany a lot and they're effective at slowing down cars overseas. So with that being the objective, that's where my mind would go.
Okay.
We're bringing it to a conclusion. I see either Allison or Mark Locascio may have a comment.
I'm just curious, on Schaefer Road, where you suggested, where pinch number 4 was suggested, is that a combined area with Lake County Forest Preserve District and Vernon Township? Or is that Ela Township there?
No, it's Vernon. Which one are you talking about? The one on Schaefer? Yeah, it's Vernon Township.
Yeah, because when we met with Vernon Township, they were interested in doing something there. They just didn't have a good idea at that meeting. And I think this is a good idea to approach them with, because they wanted to do something. And Altenburg said, throwing $25,000 at something that might save someone's life was worth the money. So yeah, I just wasn't sure if this was approached to Vernon Township at all yet or not.
No, it is not. That's what Jeff hasn't done, but we should do that in advance of it as well. So good point, Allison.
Thank you.
Yep. Greg or Jeff, or I can call John Altenberg, whichever, so. All right, we're at a conclusion point. Thank you, everyone. Then the next item on the agenda is the updated resolution to approve the annual updates to the zoning map, which apparently there are no changes, right, Jeff? And Jeff
There
is
are no
muted.
changes.
Okay. Jeff is muted or something, so he's not talking. So if there, I would.
May
be
I
looking-
ask one question?
Sure.
And I've asked this question years ago and I don't remember the answer. And that is, do we have a mapping of all of village-owned properties within Long Grove?
Yes, we do.
Where would I find that?
Now, that's a question I don't have a good answer for.
But how do you know we have it if,
Well,
It's a secret.
I've had our office create it and we've emailed it to Dave a few times. So I know it exists.
can you get it for us
Sure.
and send it to the board? Yeah, that'd be great.
Access to it is a different thing.
Okay, because I really would like to see that.
Okay.
And on that map, does it show what are public and what are private roads?
It does not, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think that's on that map. The Village Street Atlas
Does.
does by way of the public streets are all capital letters and the private streets are, first letter capitalized and the rest lowercase.
Wow, what a tricky method. Where would I find that?
I believe the street atlas is on it.
It's on the map, right?
Not mistaken.
Yeah, if I bring it up, let's see if I can do that. Let me share my screen again. I remember, I saw that. It's
I
a
know
little,
we have it. I've seen it. I
it's a
have
little
one.
blurry though. For some reason. You're talking
got it.
here,
Yeah, and
I've
that
got it.
street atlas, I'm actually
is
working
this it? Right here, right?
that updated for this year too.
Where are you saying it is? This isn't it? On the zoning map?
No, there's a separate one that says street atlas at the top.
Oh, okay, so this is the map we're trying to approve tonight.
I didn't
Okay.
mean to take us off on a tangent. If I could see those two items someday, that,
Yeah, it doesn't show it, so, okay. Sorry.
Hey, Bill, Chris will sign off. I've got a couple things I really have to get done tonight. I apologize for
Chris,
that.
Chris, thank you.
Sign off.
Michelle, please note that for the minutes. Thank you. Thanks
Yeah,
for being here.
thanks, guys. Thanks for the understanding. Appreciate that.
Yep.
No problem.
All right, I'm gonna stop
okay.
sharing.
I apologize for going in a funny direction, but I'd really like to see those two items.
We'll get them over.
Okay, so with that, any other questions?
You
or
need a
other-
motion to approve
I
the
do, please.
new zoning map or the updated, is it called updated?
It says
zoning map.
approving annual updates to the Village of Long Grove zoning map. Yeah. So moved by trustee O'Reilly, seconded by
Second,
trustee Micho. That's a roll call.
Trustee O'Reilly,
Aye.
trustee Micho,
aye.
trustee O'Connor,
Hi.
and trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you.
Well, with that, I don't think there's any more engineering items if.
You may go,
I would request.
I need to ask Jeff one quick question.
sure.
The stormwater mitigation at Three Lakes. Do you know roughly how much that is?
I know the number a few years ago, but I don't want to, I want to look at that, freshen that up before I.
Is it over or under
act on
50,000?
that.
Which one are you talking about? When they put the pipe in, the higher pipe?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you remember how much it was? I don't remember. We'd have to look it up. They-
Over or under 50,000?
I remember the number of, now that I know what you're talking about, 46 or 48.
Okay, I may have something for them. I just wanted to check that real quick. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I thought you were talking about the outlet. Fixing.
Yes,
Thank you.
all right. Any other questions for Jeff? If not, we'll let Jeff go.
All right, guys. Have a good
Thank
rest of the meeting.
Bye, have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Night.
Good night. So Greg, I'm going to let you talk about the retainer really quick. And I know Ann's not here and she's supportive of it. So
Yeah, it's we've been doing business with Seidler for a number of years. The last increase they had from their monthly retainer was a little over 10 years ago. So they've been over the last 10, 11 years continuing to charge us a retainer of $16.50. They approached the board, I believe, in 2012 and were not granted an increase. Greg Seidler, as his group, has done an exceptional job for the village. Our auditors sing their praise. I know staff has a strong working relationship with them that probably as strong as it's been with some of their staff. And so it's $350 additional a month. So I just want to share with the board that rate increase will be coming with the upcoming fiscal year 22-23 budget.
You need a motion now.
I don't think it's an action item. It's just an update.
I have a question. The hourly rate is 125 per hour. Did that also increase?
No.
So that stayed the same. Okay.
Yes.
yeah, it was in Greg's purview to approve it and he didn't want to do that without making the board aware of it. So that's really what he's doing. So,
Yeah, that's fine.
all right, if there's no objections, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the village president and trustee reports. I know the village manager has a report. You want to go through yours first or want to just go around the horn with the trustees really quick? Let's go around the horn. I don't have a report tonight. Trustee Borowski's not here. Trustee Kritzmeyer's not here. Trustee Michaud, do you have a report?
No report.
Trustee O'Connor, I know you have one, but hold that thought for a second.
Okay.
Trustee O'Reilly,
No.
trustee Tanucci.
No.
Okay, trustee O'Connor.
Ready?
I'll let you give your report. Thank you. Go.
Okay, so I attended a webinar this week that was sponsored by Lake County. Sandy Hart introduced the people who presented. Basically, and I'll go through this quickly and I can send you a website that will give you more information, but basically for Lake County residents, and I noticed on the map, it also includes Cook County, McHenry County, Will County. So don't ignore any of our residents who own businesses may own businesses in this other county. There are monies available for energy and flood management types of programs, but not just those. I'll go through a short list of what the monies are available for. For all energy efficient projects, water management, renewable energy installation, electric vehicle charging infrastructure, roof replacements, installations of green roofs, air purification handlers, flood mitigation, recycling storm water projects, windows, boilers, heat recovery systems, low flow fixtures. One of the kickers, one of the really good things about this is it isn't for necessarily projects going forward. While it is for projects going forward, the minimum money is $50,000. They will also go back 3 years for recapture. So if you are a business owner, you know a business owner who put solar panels up, for example. If they did it within the last 3 years, they can get the cash back and finance what they paid for that project over anywhere from 5 to 25 years. It's for renovations, new construction, adaptive reuse, installation of equipment, and multifamily units that are 5 units or more. You can finance up to 100% of costs. There are no personal guarantees involved. It's a fixed rate loan. The tenants, as well as the owners, can share in the cost and savings. These people have lenders available, but if somebody has a private lender they want to use, they can do that too. The way they do this is the improvement stays with the property. So because the way you pay it back is a line item on the property tax bill for whatever the property is, it amounts to an SSA. It's 100% prepayable. They don't have to wait to 20 or 25 years. The loan to price value is anywhere from 5% LTV, 5% to 25%. And that's the gist of it. I've got the organization is IECA PACE.org, Illinois Energy Conservation Authority. It could really be helpful for the right people. It could really be super helpful.
Hey, Rita, just real quick. So the money's coming from where?
The money comes from private lenders.
Private lenders? Okay.
Yep.
And where does the private lender get it from?
They're investors. If you go, again, it's Illinois Energy Conservation Authority. The website IECA PACE, P as in Peter, ACE.org. I think they have a screen on their website that lists all of their lenders. They've done this throughout the country. It started in the Washington, DC area. Period. Or if you have a relationship with your banker just calls these people, you fill out the forms, you go through the hoops, and it's there.
So
It's
then,
like
okay,
free money. I mean, it's like somebody else is paying for this, and so
well,
No.
there's got to be a tax benefit. That's so. Yeah,
somebody's getting something somewhere.
right.
There's no free lunch. I'm sorry.
That's right. But it's a line item on the property tax bill. Think of it as an SSA.
Right. So okay. So Lake County is partnering with this organization, right? So that if I
Yes.
did something,
Yes.
then I could get a rebate on my tax bill. Correct or no?
You can get a recapture of monies you've already put in if in the last 3 years,
Okay.
okay, or anything going forward. What it does is it keeps your liquid dollars liquid. And there are no personal guarantees because the loan goes with the property.
Okay.
It's the same thing like the SSA we have with the merchants. It shows up on the tax bill. That's how you pay it back.
Got it. But I was just trying to figure out how do I benefit from it? Because I would get energy savings. So I'm just the ROI I was trying to understand, right? So or I get a credit on my tax bill. So say my tax bill is $50,000 a year, I get 5,000 off because I made these investments or something like that, or no?
Not through this program, but maybe if the state has a tax credit for that, or the federal government
see.
has a tax credit, you certainly would. The benefit of this is you finance it.
Right. It's an easy way to finance it. Okay.
Exactly.
It's a long-term fixed rate loan, it looks like.
Correct.
Got
Right.
it.
It shows up just like an SSA because the improvement runs with the property, not with ownership. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Yep.
And that's the collateral for the loan. So,
Got it.
okay,
No, thanks for sharing that.
you're welcome.
Do you think, Rita, that that's something we should publicize?
Oh, yes. How many people in our village own businesses? I have no clue. But if they own the building, they may be trying to do, I talked to a dentist yesterday who is thrilled to pieces because he's been trying to put in a roof garden for over a year, and he wasn't sure how he could finance it. So I'm like, okay, cool. You can do it this way.
Okay, well, Denise or Greg, we'd have to have this accurate in order to publicize it. So Rita, if you would share with us your information so that we can, put out a true picture of what it is and how to use it.
Yep. No worries.
Great.
Thanks, Rita.
Mhm.
There's
Appreciate
still
that.
no free lunch though.
Yeah, but what if the owner of the dry cleaner business over Zingler's and we're Verizon, what if he wanted to put solar panels up?
Right.
You ought to pay for it.
Put in new windows. Well, he would, but it's a way.
Yeah, it's a great option. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, but people aren't aware of, we should make them aware of it. So
I
thank you.
like the 3-year club act, it's like, cool.
Yeah. Well, there you
Yeah.
go.
So-
All right.
Okay.
End of report.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right. So we'll go back to the village manager. I know
Oh,
you wanted
one thing, Rita, while I think of it, is there a time limit on this?
They didn't talk about that. They did, however, say that they've been doing this since 2017, started in Washington, and it's in 20 states.
Okay,
So-
okay.
Another option. It's great. Village manager Jackson, did you want to say a few words?
I just, I supplied the village trustees, the village board with a copy of some of the day-to-day operational items that we're working on, and also a document that provides the projects that are currently underway, and there's a number of them we're working on, and we're starting to close some of them, which is really positive. I've got a number of meetings coming up. I've been trying to meet with our vendors as well as our intergovernmental partners in advance of the budget coming before the board, so we have some firm numbers and also are able to lay out our service expectations from those vendors. We're setting up a meeting now with Eagle Township. I'm also having another meeting with the Village of Mundeleин's village administrator. I'm also meeting with Dane Bragg tomorrow over at Buffalo Grove. We're going to talk about a number of things, including pathways and for linking us together, and Lake Michigan Water, just to have some conversations there. I had a Zoom meeting today, DECO meeting regarding the ARPA funds. Our first report is due on April 30th, but fortunately, we don't have to have money spent by then. We've got until 2024, but the meeting was interesting and is informative. They're all informative. One other thing for certain is I had to talk with the fire chief this evening. He had met with his board about water connection to the village, and they gave him a preliminary thumbs up. We need to get him some calculations on usage. They are going to use it to fill up their pumper, which is 7,500 gallons of water there. We're trying to get an assessment of water as well as tap in. I've also had conversation with the assistant superintendent as well as the director of facilities for the Kildare Countryside School District. We're getting together the third week in March. A couple of them are going on vacation. They want to revisit hooking up to water with us. So fire department's the immediate future, or most immediate discussions. And then that's getting them some data and then meeting with them again, and then the school district shortly thereafter.
Can I ask a dumb question on the fire department? Are they willing to pay for the water too?
Yeah, there was no discussion
Okay.
about them not paying for the water. In fact,
Okay.
they asked me to estimate what their monthly bill would be.
Okay, good. Just thought I'd ask that question.
Oh,
I actually have a question too, and too bad Jeff left, but as I recall, the reservoir holds about 7,000 gallons or 6,800 gallons. And you were just saying their truck holds 7,500 gallons. So would they envision filling that entire truck in one swoop and empty our entire reservoir?
What they said was that's a once a month fill up. So I don't know if it's necessarily the truck at one swoop or not, but I'll check, Ken.
Well,
Additionally, we should keep in mind that the water is a continuous flow operation, except when we have some kind of disruption. So it wouldn't be drawing down the reservoir, except to the extent it exceeded the capacity of our pumps.
yeah, but we did have an issue with the house that caught fire when they were filling up their trucks continuing. There were multiple trucks coming and filling it up, and it caused problems with the water in the downtown. So that's the stuff you'll have to, look at, right? Yeah.
And if you draw water beyond a certain rate, then it just brings raw water out to the users instead of going through the filtration first. And then finally, they might need a larger pipe to get that much water.
Oh, we talked about that too. Jeff talked about the size of the pipeline connection, as well as we had somebody go out there and look at where they would connect. I guess it's capped right there, so it's a convenient connection for them too. And then calculation on usage. So yeah, Jeff's been with me on this. So
okay,
it's just a good opportunity for us to increase our users. That's all.
Yeah, which is great. I
Well,
definitely
it
support that.
fills that link that we weren't linked right with having both of them not included.
Yeah.
So it's astounding. Your magic dust.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
All right, thanks for your report. So the next thing on the agenda is the treasurer's report. I know trustee Kritzmeyer is not here. I did look at it myself. Are there any questions? If not, I'm looking for a motion to accept the monthly treasurer's report.
So move.
Moved by trustee O'Reilly, seconded by
Second,
trustee Micho. Michelle, if you'd be so kind.
Sure. Trustee O'Reilly,
Aye.
trustee Micho,
aye.
trustee O'Connor,
Aye.
and trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. With the next item on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes from the February 8th meeting. Are there any amendments or suggested changes? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I have a quirky little problem. At our last meeting, we were very careful to include or correct a resident's opinion on something on Checker. And we wanted to have her opinion correct within the minutes. At our last meeting, I asked, oh, her name escapes me now, but she works
Allison?
with Greg, with
Greg.
Jeff. She works
Oh,
with Jeff. She gave us a
Carolina.
wonderful, what?
Carolina.
Yes, a wonderful presentation. And I requested from her that she provide us with the graphics of her presentation. So here's my problem, is that that's not in the minutes. So do I assume that Jeff or Greg or Denise or somebody has noted that she has agreed to do this? Or should it be in the minutes?
I apologize. I usually try.
No,
if there's
no,
a
this is
follow-up-
not, this is not a criticism.
If I might
But if
chime in,
there's a
I would,
follow-up, I do usually try to include it in the minutes because I think that's.
Michelle, you're doing an awesome job, by the way. just
Yeah,
for the
no,
record.
no, this
Yeah,
is
I just want
not,
to make sure I'm doing.
this is,
Yeah.
when I say it's quirky, it's quirky. It's just
Yeah.
a funny little thing.
if I might suggest, I think that, and I would agree, the minutes have been fantastic. You never hear from me, Michelle, as a result. But I would suggest that things of that nature are really just follow-up for staff and not really something that is reflective of the discussion of the minutes. My recommendation is always to try to keep the minutes as succinct as possible.
Okay, so the resident's opinion should not have been there to begin with, nor should we have corrected it? Is that what you're saying?
That was a matter of a point of discussion during the meeting. something in the nature of, can we have a copy of that? I don't think that's so much the discussion. I think that's a.
No, it
follow-up.
was her opinion as to where the choker should be.
Oh, yeah, but we actually agreed that we would,
Yeah,
Michelle
that
would go
was
back and
corrected.
listen.
Michelle did do a revision of the minutes to correct that.
Okay, so the residents' opinion is more important to the overall scope of things than my opinion or my request for information from someone who is not our staff.
I guess I understood what you were looking for was not additional information, just the provision of something that was actually presented at the meeting.
Well, so the thing though is, if I understand correctly, is what happened is the minutes were published and there was some difference of opinion of where the choker was supposed to be placed. And so what we said is we approved it, contingent upon Michelle going back in and listening to the replay to make sure that she captured
No, it was
correctly.
about her opinion.
No, it was, I raised.
Okay, I drop it. So when I request something, I will just have
We
to
can-
put
what
it
we
in
can-
writing to the village manager, the village president, the operations manager, so that I'm certain that my request that is made publicly for public information, that I'll get it. Okay, that's fine. Then I would make a motion to approve the minutes.
Can we amend them to put Bobby's comment in there?
No, it isn't important. It isn't important. Now that I know that I have to put it in writing, then that's what I'll do. It's not hard.
All right. There's a motion on the table to approve the minutes,
I'd like to second the motion.
seconded by trustee Tanucci.
Trustee O'Reilly,
No,
Keep going.
trustee Tanucci,
Aye.
trustee Micho,
Aye.
and trustee O'Connor.
I can't hear you.
You're muted.
Aye, now can you hear me?
Yeah, got it.
All right, motion carried. And before there's no other business, right? So we'll be looking for a motion to adjourn, but before we close it out, can Village Manager Jackson or Jeff or whomever has that information, or Denise, make sure that we,
the information does not exist. I've never seen it. I have no idea if it was followed up with. So it becomes my burden. I understand that now. It's been clarified. So let it lie. Let it lie.
all right, on that note, looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, moved by trustee O'Connor, seconded by trustee Micho. Roll call, please.
Trustee O'Connor,
Aye.
trustee Micho,
Aye.
trustee O'Reilly,
She left.
oh, trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Okay, that's three, right? So
Bill, do you have to vote?
I'm an aye, fine. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Aye.
you. Have a
Night,
good
everybody.
night.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.